Hello and welcome to the Avrum Rosensweig Show.
Welcome to one of the internet's best podcasts, where we dive deep into the lives of the extraordinary and fascinating people who leave an indelible mark on our world. Join us as we explore their captivating stories, remarkable achievements, and unique perspectives that shape history and inspire generations. Get ready to embark on a journey through the lives of inspiring people unlike any other.
Hello, folks, and welcome to the show. My name is Avrum Rosensweig, and I am delighted to be here with you. The show is all about honoring humankind through inspirational interviews. And I have to tell you that only this morning I was thinking to myself how lucky I am that I'm exposed to such fascinating individuals who share this planet with us. This morning, a fellow came by the name of Howard Kurlansky. And I think when I show you this, it might be backwards, but he wrote his very first novel called Who Killed Charles Dickens. Now, I actually work with novelists. I've done a lot of interviews with them, and I launched the Writers Club. And to write a novel, let me tell you something, it's not for the faint of heart. Not for the faint of heart. It can take years to do it. So we had a wonderful chat, and I just felt so deeply honored to be exposed to such an individual who has done such a lofty thing. I myself want to write a book. It's part of my bucket list, and hopefully I will at some point. But I think the point to be made is that we live in a world with incredible people, and we have to open our eyes to the beauty and to the wonderful things that they accomplish. As in today, my guest for the very second time, Mr. Gershon Miskin. How are you, Gershon?
Pretty good. Can't
Yeah,
complain.
great to have you.
How are you?
I'm doing very well. Thank you so much. And I'm very, very excited about this interview because we're going to be talking about something which is very local to you, which you're very passionate about. So let me introduce you and what we will be schmoozing about today. We will explore the transformative power of meditation, both for the soul and for the body, mostly for the soul. Gershon Miskin is an Orthodox Jew and has been involved in meditation and mindfulness for a number of years. Together, we'll dive into how meditation not only nurtures spiritual growth, but also boosts physical health. From ancient practices rooted in mindfulness to modern science showing reduced stress and improved heart health, meditation is a bridge between inner peace and outer vitality. Research, like a 2017 study in the Lancet classic medical journal, it shows that meditation can lower cortisol levels, easily easing anxiety, while spiritual traditions, as described in the Torah, actually, or the Bhagavad Gita, highlights its role in connecting us to deeper consciousness. Join us as we uncover the wisdom and science between this timeless practice with insights from experts, stories from practitioners, and practical tips to enrich your life. All of those people being Gershon Miskin. A big applause.
Oh my God.
Gershon, you're in Miami Beach. You just came back from El Salvador, so you're traveling about. How are all your travels going?
You know what? It's a big world out there, and there's lots to see. Miami Beach is, it's like a second home at this point. But El Salvador, I have to tell you, if you have an opportunity to go down there, you really should check it out because
Why?
it's transforming. I mean, it's heading, it's ascending. It's the people there are fantastic. They've suffered tremendous amounts, in their history, and things there the government has changed. The opportunities, the safety situation has changed. The business opportunities I don't think. I don't know anywhere else in the Western world where there's that type of opportunity now. They've adopted Bitcoin. Just a lot going on over there. So that was a fun trip, and yeah. What can I tell you? If you have a chance to go down there, you probably should.
What's it like as a local guy, originally from Toronto, spending time in Miami Beach, beautiful metropolitan area? When you step off the plane in El Salvador for the very first time, what was it like for you?
Something very interesting happened down there. And at the airport, actually, we got off the plane. Airport was really, I've been to a lot worse. It's not Pearson, but it was definitely a decent airport. We were picked up by a driver, and as we were walking to the car park, he looks down and he notices somebody had dropped their lunch or what remained of their lunch on the ground, and he picked it up and he deposited it in the garbage. And I was thinking to myself, like, when have you ever seen anything like this? It was just very indicative of the type of people down there. They have a tremendous respect for their country. I mean, the national anthem, which I listened to with subtitles, basically said that we're the children of our country. Like, our country is our mother, and we're its children, and we're happy and we're proud to be the children. It's a there's patriotism there. There's respect there. There's fear of God there. Like, a lot of the things that we've kind of lost in the West are alive and well there, and there's like a certain pride that exists down there in the population, the young population. That it seems to me that they have a bright future over there, brighter than a lot of the places that we call home.
I did a lot of work in Guyana and Zimbabwe, Tegucigalpa in Honduras. And one of the things I found is that the poorer the countries, and they're all very poor countries, although Guyana is gaining a lot of wealth through oil. But the people, by and large, not always, of course, seemed actually somewhat satisfied with life. And you mentioned to me before, you said, Avrum, down there, I didn't see a lot of, bodies covered in tattoos and the ear piercings. And I think your point was that there was great respect for the self. Would that be accurate?
I mean, I think there's respect for, they've been through a very tough time. They had civil war, and then they had gangs and a lot of violence, and it's just a very dangerous place to be for a long time. And they relied on their families, and they relied on God, and they relied on their communities, and just a high quality human being. If suffering refines you, they've had a lot of suffering. I think they've been refined, and they don't take things for granted, and they're not spoiled, and they work, and they're just a nice culture, like a culture that's going places. It seems to me.
Was there any discussion or any reference to any recognition of your Jewishness?
Interesting. I saw in multiple places Israeli flags. I wasn't walking around overtly Jewish, though the people that we were with knew that we were Jewish, and were interested in it. I think that a lot of messianic type Judaism. I noticed a lot of crosses with Stars of David, like ministries. Type stuff. So they're into Christianity, but they're into very traditional Christianity. They're not looking to proselytize Jews down there, because there really aren't any Jews down there. I think they have an appreciation for the Old Testament. They have an appreciation for the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. And so I think Judaism, or the Jewish people generally, are held in high regard down there, even though there aren't a lot of us. So I think it's like, I'm going back. So I thought it was a great place, a good trip.
When you travel to places like that for business, let's say, are you comfortable letting them know you're Jewish?
Am I comfortable? It depends where. If I was going to Turkey, probably not. In South America, more so. And I don't really have a problem. There were places where I walked around with the yarmulke. There were places where I did not. There aren't any really kosher restaurants over there, so I found myself in non-kosher restaurants. Typically you don't wear a yarmulke in a non-kosher restaurant. We had a couple of meetings and whatever else. So I didn't feel that there was a need to hide it. I didn't feel that there was any anti-Semitism or any type of pressure like that. But I have been known to go to a non-kosher restaurant for whatever reason, and when I do so, I don't typically wear a yarmulke. So I think it was more force of habit, as opposed to try to avoid anti-Semites.
Well, when you went to El Salvador, did you feel before you left? Did you feel like, I really want to get home? I really want to get out of here, or were you quite happy to be there?
I was there. I was there for 4 days. I think at the end of the 4 days, it was time to come home. Um,
Yeah.
the food situation there is not particularly good if you keep kosher, so I hadn't had a decent meal in 4 days. So
4 days.
so it's it was good to go. Listen, it was good to go. It was good to experience. It was good to go home. But listen, I could say that about a lot of places. If I'm in Miami for that's not true actually. If I'm in Miami for a couple of weeks, I'm not. I'm
Maybe
not.
not
I'm
Miami.
not running back. But if I'm going to any place that I'm not, that's new that I'm not particularly come from, there's no place like home at the end of the day. So there was, good to go, good to come back.
All right. Well, welcome back. Let's give a little bit of a context about who you are. We have done an interview already, and it was quite fascinating. And I think the response to it was very, very good. You are an Orthodox Jew, have always been an Orthodox Jew, and you grew up in what we'll call the yeshiva system, a similar system that I grew up in. That means we studied Talmud since the time that we were little. We ensconced ourselves in some very difficult ideas together with the rabbis and our fellow students, having to do with how big a sukkah is supposed to be, down to the very nth detail. When you take challah, how are you supposed to do that? What are you supposed to do with it? These are very challenging ideas, especially when you're younger. As you get older, they can be quite fascinating. But at some point in time, because of things that you had gone through in your life, as an example, a divorce, you start to look for spirituality in, let's say, different corners, not giving up your religiosity in the Jewish context, but trying to find something else that would speak to you. And the thing that you found that held a lot of weight within your soul was, let's call it mindfulness, was meditation, was past life regression. And you really latched onto it. And we had a wonderful talk in our very first interview. And since then, is that an accurate description of who you are in short?
I'm sure. I think the real goal was to get to know the soul, to get to know God through the soul. There was learning about God or talking about God. I mean, you mentioned the Talmud. There isn't a tremendous amount of talk about God in the Talmud, or in the learning that I was doing. There wasn't, God wasn't a central figure in it. But I, for whatever reason, was drawn to trying to not just read about things or read about God, but to actually experience it where I could actually feel something, more experiential. So the path to that is through meditation and understanding the soul and what we really are is, it's helpful to understand past life regression. So those areas of interest were really in pursuit of a larger understanding of what I am, spiritually, and being able to connect to it. So that was the goal.
Well, let's call this a before and after. Before meditation, what was your relationship with God? After meditation, although this is after and continues to be, what is your relationship with God now?
Um, it was less personal, pre meditation. It was more the thinking of God as an outside being, not knowing how to describe it, so applying human type characteristics to him, wanting to serve this outside being by being compliant. Nervous that my compliance wasn't up to a high enough standard. Thinking about success in terms of my ability to please this outside thing, carrot stick type stuff, meaning looking into being compliance to get rewards, afraid of getting the stick for not being in compliance. That's that was until I went inward and turned to spirituality. So that was my relationship with God. As I transitioned into more spiritual approach, God kind of softens from being a judge, or like an angry, not angry, I shouldn't say angry, but a all seeing, all watching, all judging eye, to being a father. I softened him first. So now he's a father, and I'm the son, as opposed to a master and a servant. And I poured my heart out to my father, knowing that my father loves me. It's more of a personal relationship. It's softer. You're not worried about being punished. At the end of the day, your father loves you, and he's, if he punishes you, it's only to help you. It's not because you deserve some sort of a punishment. So that's a couple of degrees softer than the original thought of what God is or my relationship. And then moving on from there to going inward and feeling things and connecting to things and realizing that my soul, which I can feel now, that I can talk to, that I can I hear things from, that I'm that is providing feedback in the form of interesting occurrences, synchronicities, strange occurrences that mathematically are impossible, like feeling feedback when I'm putting things out there to my soul, and like more so an interactive type of experience, and then equating my soul as a piece of God and saying, well, okay, well, God isn't something outside that is different, that is something else that's looking for compliance, or that I have to relate to as an other being. I can internalize it and feel that I'm a piece of it. I'm a piece of God. I'm not God per se, but my soul is of God, and my connection is through my own personal piece of God, which is a soul, which is the soul. So that is a closer. So basically, drawing closer from going from an outer being that's looking for compliance to more of a loving father, to this is really who I am. I mean, I'm a piece of it. That is that was done through meditation, that the experiencing that and the knowing of it, as opposed to the intellectual thinking of it or understanding of it, is it's a lot more, it's more real, it's more personal. uh, there's more feeling. Anyway, I think you understand what I'm saying.
Yeah, I do. Well, how are you different inside? Are you happier now?
Well, I have my moments. Um, in general, I started to, gradually start viewing myself as a soul having a human experience as opposed to a human with a soul.
Mhm.
So that is it's a much broader perspective of what we are and what we're capable of. So as a soul, as like, consciousness that has no beginning and no end, that can't be destroyed, you're a little bit less worried about screwing up. You're a little bit less worried about dying. You're a little bit less worried about getting sick. You're a little bit less, there's less fear, because as you gradually color yourself as a soul, as opposed to, a weak human being who's frail and at the mercy of external forces, you gradually, it fills you with confidence and realizing that, it's okay. And, if you're not scared, fear, I think, is the opposite of love. So as you become less fearful, you become more loving.
Mm.
And you become more patient, and you become more understanding. And then you start realizing that, okay, if I'm a piece of God, so is this guy, so is that guy. If something happens bad, you start to realize, okay, everything is of God. I'm a soul, and I'm not here to suffer. I'm here to experience and to grow as a soul in human form. And if it's happening to me and it's negative, it's not a punishment, or it's not something to be avoided at all costs. It's something where there's learning embedded in it, and it's something that's purposeful and ultimately good. It's you can view school as a terrible thing, or you can view it as a real opportunity and embrace it. A mature person looks at school as an opportunity, looks at, sees the joy and the opportunity and the advancement and the utility of school, doesn't fear it, doesn't loathe it, So the human existence and, living life becomes less of a burden and more of a purposeful journey. And when you take fear out of it and you replace it with more love and more acceptance and more understanding.
So love being the opposite of fear. Do you love well? Do you love deeply?
Do I love who?
Do you love well? Do you love deeply?
You know what? I think more so now. I think I'm a little bit more open to it now than I was when I was younger. We it's a lifelong journey, but I think, when I'm in a meditative state, and I'm connected to my light, or I'm connected to source. And you connect to both. You can connect to your soul's light, and you can then, as your soul's light, you can connect to source. You feel a peace and a love that it's different. It's a different kind of a love. And so the more you soak in that, the more you're, more sensitive you get to it. I guess 100%. I guess you are more loving. So the answer to your question is yes.
I'm thinking about you loving your wife and you loving your children, how that would look based on the meditation that you've gone through. So you're not afraid to be vulnerable then?
Less. I mean, I think that's just a function of age. I think that as I get older, I think as most people get older, if they don't if they don't head in the opposite direction, they soften, and they're more, they see the value of relationships. They appreciate family. They appreciate children. I just think that's. I don't think you need a meditative practice in order to mature in that direction. But I would say, forgive me. What was the question? You
No,
got me
it's more
sidetracked thinking about love.
my challenge in life currently is trying to shed a bunch of fear that I've carried with me for 65 years. And while you were speaking, I was envisioning that. And I was envisioning riding my bike outside near a park that both you and I live near, and just not having that heavy yoke of trepidation on me, but instead like a very deep, rich feeling of love for nature and for the people around me. And I thought, my God, that must be lovely. And I want to try that. I really want to go there.
What's stopping you? Go get your bike and go to the park.
I know. That's why I'm doing this interview with you.
Hug a
So,
tree.
yeah, I've done that. I've done that. So then that's why I'm doing this interview with you, because I want to learn from you. So let's talk about meditation a little bit. Within Judaism, there are different perspectives on it. Meditation-like practices are seen in concepts like what's called hitbodedut, which is self-seclusion and personal prayer; kavanah, focused intention and prayer; hitbonenut, contemplative reflection on God's creation or Torah teachings. Now, you have mostly studied non-Jewish sources when it comes to meditation, but it seems like it's indigenous, it's local to all the major religions and all the major ideologies out there. From your perspective, what is meditation?
Switching gear, quieting the mind. So to switch the gear in the brain, which takes you out of a certain state of consciousness to a deeper state of consciousness. So let's make this easy so everyone can understand it. You're a certain level of consciousness having a conversation with somebody, thinking about what they're saying and formulating a response in your head. That's one level of consciousness. When you're sitting and you're watching television, as an example, or you're just taking in everything. You're not formulating any thoughts. You're in a very suggestive type of a state. That's another level of consciousness. When you are falling asleep at night, when your mind is perfectly clear, you're not taking in any information, but you're in a nice quiet space. That's another gear. I think a meditation is switching gears from the regular waking state of consciousness to that, achieving through whatever technique you want to use, and there's more than one technique. That deeper, more relaxed, more open, quiet, soft space that everyone experiences. Everyone listening to this falls asleep at night, is in that nice quiet zone when the day's worries have melted. And when you wake up first thing, before the thought of what it is that you need to do, or the need to get out of bed or whatever else, and start moving, that nice, quiet, warm, relaxed space, that's the zone. So there are benefits of just being in that zone, but there's also things to do once you're in that zone. And meditation starts by getting into that zone, or that should be the objective, and then you add on from there. The work that can be done, the inner work that can be done once that state is achieved, would also fall in the category of meditation.
So how would meditation facilitate a deeper connection to your inner self or your higher consciousness? How does it do that?
Um, there's really two minds. I mean, there's the rational thinking mind that is your inner conversation, your inner dialogue. Whatever random thoughts popping into your head, your worry, you're thinking about the past, you're seeing whatever it is that's in front of you right now. You're going off into the future that hasn't happened yet, but worrying, entertaining scenarios about the future. It's the constant mental chatter, the conversation. That is where people spend 99% of their time in that with that conscious mind yammering. Then there is the consciousness that exists behind that mind. So when a crazy thought popped into your head, and you think to yourself for a second, that's crazy. What's listening to that thought? What generated that thought? So there's different aspects of the mind. The intellectual mind, it needs to be shelved. It needs to be put off to the side. If you don't have a meditative practice, it will drive you crazy. You'll have nonstop contact with this, not contact. I'm sorry, but you'll have nonstop will be subject to whatever it's doing or wherever it's focused on, or wherever it's racing. The act of meditation shelves it, puts it off to the side. It doesn't go away without a fight. As you progress in your meditative practice, it has less and less of a grip on you. It doesn't like to be sidelined, but eventually, when it goes away, the thing that's listening, like the consciousness, is kind of emerges to the front. That doesn't have worries. It doesn't have fears. It doesn't have agendas. It just is. It's the real you, and so by quieting they call it the monkey mind, by quieting the monkey mind and having the consciousness that's always in the background but emerge, that's it's very healthy. It gives you a break. It allows your system to reset. It gives you a moment of peace. It allows you to cleanse yourself. It gives your body the ability to, there's physiological changes that happen to your body when you achieve that state that are, I'm not a scientist, but there's no question physically spending time in that state, coming out of it, you've been reset, you're recharged, you're physically you're doing better. It's just an optimal, to be in that state 2 or 3 times a day is just optimal. It's it allows you to reset and refocus, and yeah, I don't know if that answers the question, but that's
What was
my experience.
No, it does. What was very interesting in a conversation that we once had is that you were troubled. You were deeply troubled by a conflict with someone else in your life, and it was bothering you to such an extent that I think there was a pain. Was it in your neck or something like that, in your back? And you went and dealt with it through meditation, past life regression, and after that, per what you just said, you physically felt better as well as mentally, right?
I don't remember that exact instance, but yes, I mean,
That was your
there's no.
recent trip to Los Angeles.
Oh, okay. Well, that was with a little help. That wasn't
Yeah.
that wasn't just my own practice. That was with someone who knows what they're doing, which is if for healing work and for cleaning work, and you want to go deep, having someone who can can help you get to different levels, and with certain expertise be able to shine light on blind spots and be able to remove things. Absolutely, very healthy, and would affect a physical change. Yes, and that has been my experience. The trick is over time in the practice, and easier said than done. I've been meditating for, I don't know, 15 years, and I still need a hand. in certain situations, I'll still need, but I think the goal is to refine the practice to the point where you have the ability to, do a lot of those things by yourself. It's always good to have, help. It's always good to have a hand, but having a daily maintenance and building the practice where you can diffuse problems. You can, not just emotional situations, could be physical situations as well. Be able to do that, to stand on your own without requiring help. Is a goal. I haven't reached that goal. I'm still, from time to time, I will seek the assistance of people that are farther along the path than I am, that can, that aid in those types of situations. But the techniques and the idea of, dealing with the higher self and going into that state, that the lay of the land is the same, and the techniques are the same. But when you have an expert applying them, they could be more powerful.
What's very interesting, though, about your life and the meditative practice is that while you still need help, and I think that's reasonable, my guess is even people like the great Thich Nhat Hanh, who is considered one of the gurus of all of this stuff, I'm sure that he had a mentor as well. But recently, you went to one of the Orthodox schools here in Toronto, a yeshiva, and you basically gave a class or a lecture on meditation and mindfulness, helping the boys in terms of relaxing as they head into exams and so on. So let's take some of that and let's help the people who are watching this podcast who really, really want to engage in meditation and either haven't tried it or have tried it and they just can't still their mind. What's the first step to take?
I mean, the first step to take is get rid of any distractions. You have to isolate yourself. You have to get rid of your device. You have to, shut off notifications, whatever needs to be done, and you're not going to be disturbed. Typically when I get started, I go through my body, starting with my head down to my feet, going through it pretty much the sections of the body, relaxing each section of the body using the breath. So you take an inhale, and then you make the exhale twice as long, or maybe even longer than twice as long, 3 times as long. And as you're exhaling, you're pushing the tension first out of your head, and then out of your neck, and then out of your shoulders, moving down the body, through the arms, through the back, the midsections, the leg, going through the entire body to relax each piece. And as you're exhaling and you're blowing out the tension, and you find yourself, as you completed that, in a little bit more of a relaxed space. Then when you're more relaxed, and the breath is key to this, you continue, you find your center of being. To me, it's my heart is my center of being. So I go into my heart, I put my awareness into my heart, and I use my breath, and I expand the size of my heart as I exhale. And when I inhale, I brighten it. So I expand out the light, and then I inhale the light in, and I make it brighter. And I'll spend a couple of minutes in my heart. And, then I will move up to maybe 6 inches or so above my head. And I'll visualize a light there, maybe the size of a softball. And my breathing then will start expanding that light out. And I'll feel something on top of my head expanding, and I'll contract it on the inhale, expand and contract and make it brighter. And I'll spend a couple of minutes in there. So if my heart is my center of my being, on top of my head would be the center of my soul, the seat of my soul, where, my individual spiritual consciousness resides. So I spend a little time there, and I would link the two. I move the consciousness up from my heart. I move the light up from there into the light of my soul. So I go from there up to here. And I'm breathing. So now I'm connected to two. On top of that, if I vision that, like at the center, the center of space, in the center of the universe, there's another massive light. And I can my eyes are closed usually when I'm doing this, and I'll roll my eyeballs back in my head, so I'm like kind of connecting to the light above. And so the light above is, the light of creation, the creator light, the source of everything, the Godhead, whatever it is that you want to call it, the Rabbanu Shalom. And I would connect my physical being to my soul, and then I would connect my soul light to the light that all that is, and I would try to, become that light, become the light of all that is. So you're really moving your consciousness first into your center of being, then into your soul, and then to all that is, and you're merging because where your mind goes, that's where the energy flows. I'm putting my individuated consciousness or being into the light, into the oneness, and now when you're there, you can hang out for quite some time, and you can just, if you're doing this over enough period of time, the thoughts that would typically bombard you are gone. You're quiet, and you've nullified your consciousness into this light, and you're absorbed into the light of all that is, and it's a great feeling. It's a great place to hang out. But once you're there, you can stay there, or you can start doing some work. So in the case of exams, why not visualize that you're sitting in your exam and you're running through it. Every single question is easy. It's coming to you. And you're just you're cutting through it like a hot knife through butter. And this answer and this answer, and you feel the excitement of knowing, oh my God, I'm acing this, I'm acing this, I'm acing this. This is fantastic. And you sit and you feel the success of acing a test. Maybe visualize getting the test back and you got an A. You got an A plus, and you got a little smiley face, or whatever would convey success, on that exam, and sit there in the light of acing, of the feeling, conjuring the feeling, not like you're watching a movie where you see some guy getting his paper back with an A. You're feeling like you're holding the paper that the professor or the teacher gave you, and you're looking at it with your eyes. You project yourself like it's actually happening. And you got this A, and the feeling of satisfaction and success of that particular, that could be anything. If you're having trouble with a loved one, you can put yourself into that space and visualize the outcome of a reconciliation and what it's like to hug them after you've worked everything out. Then feeling them, not visualizing in your head them being happy or saying hi to you, but actually feeling the embrace, like putting yourself in the situation that, it's been fulfilled already. You've put whatever problems that you had behind you, and now you're on the same page, and there's love again, and, feeling it when you're in that space. So you live in that, and you come out of that when the meditation is over, and you come out of it, it's like you were transported somewhere else. It's like you've been somewhere else. Like the part of you which is godly has moved on to a place or dimension where this has actually happened. You felt it happen, and that's a powerful manifestation tool to manifest success, to manifest love, positive outcomes, or whatever else. Just an example of the things that you could do in meditation.
So, Gershon, let's take that overview that you just gave, which was fantastic, by the way, and let's simplify it. I come into your house and I say, Gersh, I really need you to walk me through this. I really want to do it. I want to understand meditation. We sit down on your couch. I sit across from you or next to you. What's the first thing I need to do?
Well, I would probably get up and leave leave you by yourself. I mean, I can tell you what you would expect. If you're sitting in in a room and there's no distractions, and you're sitting up in a chair, and I'm not big into lying down when I'm doing it. You have to maintain good posture, because if you're not, you slump over as you get in a deeper state. It's important to be able to sit up, and you're trying not to fall asleep. You're trying to maintain consciousness while you're doing it. I'll answer your question in a second of what I would tell someone to do if I was coaching them. But one thing I'll mention, the technique that I mentioned before about connecting to the light, prior to being able to do that, you have to be able to quiet the mind. And, so step number one would be to be able to sit and to breathe, get into the relaxed state like I first suggested, but to be able to breathe, and your mind is going to wander, and you're going to think about whatever pops up, random stuff. That's the monkey mind. Well, something will pop up in there. Don't engage it, just breathe. Go back to the breath. And then monkey mind will be relentless, and there'll be something else. Don't engage it. Go back to the breath. And then you'll find yourself gradually, if you keep going back to the breath, using the breath is key to this. By using the breath, by slowing down the breathing and by concentrating on the breath and only the breath, what will happen is you'll get into that state. You'll feel it. It's familiar to everybody because, like I said, as you're falling asleep at night or as you wake up in the morning, you'll know what it is. That's when you would want to conjure the light inside of you. That's when you would want to connect to the light above you and to the light that all it is. So there's getting into that zone where your mind isn't distracting you. Your phone can't be distracting you, but your monkey mind can't be distracting you. Getting into that zone is going to take practice. So if you're coming to me for the first time, realize this isn't a one and done. You're not going to, it's going to be some time before you're going to get there. Just like it's going to be some time if you never walked into a gym before you're going to be able to do 10 push-ups. It's going to take some effort. So the first thing I do is I sit up in a chair, get rid of the distractions, close my eyes, sit up straight, get relaxed, body part by body part using the breath, and then just slow down the breath and block out the noise. And you start that, and that'll spend 10, 15, 20 minutes doing that, block out the noise. And eventually what will happen is you'll find that state, and you will, it'll be easier and easier to achieve that state. And if I'm being honest, it's not always easy. There's some days where it's very easy, and some days where you're fighting and fighting. I remember sitting in a chair for 30 minutes, 35 minutes, not being able to settle. And it's frustrating. But, like anything else worth doing, it takes time, it takes practice, we're all built to do it. And people tell me when I talk about meditation, I can't do it. I have ADD, my mind's racing a mile a minute. It's impossible.
Yeah, I hear that a lot.
It's nonsense. I mean, it could be more difficult for some people, but if they can fall asleep at night, if you're ADD, why can you fall asleep at night? Why can you get in a relaxed enough state in order to be able to eventually lose consciousness? The trick here is to get into that state without losing consciousness, which is why we're sitting up. It can be done. There has to be a desire there, and there has to be regular practice, and it will happen. And then that's table stakes. That's how you get in the game. And then getting into the heart and getting into the merging with the soul and merging with all it is and visualizing outcomes as if they already happened and living them. All of that stuff will flow out of the initial practice of being able to stop fidgeting. The other thing, like the body doesn't like to be sidetracked. So you're going to get an itch. There'll be something you're going to have to scratch this, or you're going to have to worry about that, or, the subconscious, the conscious mind. The conscious mind doesn't like to be sidetracked. He likes all the attention. He likes all the energy. Doesn't want to be put on the shelf. So the thoughts of this is stupid. This is never going to work. This is crazy. Why even bothering? Why I'm wasting my time? That inevitably will pop in. Go back to the breath. Go back to the breath. Slow it down. You slow down the breath. You slow down the heart rate. You slow down the brain activity. You find yourself in that state. You probably will fall asleep. Don't worry. At a certain point, if you maintain the practice, you'll stop falling asleep.
So I'm sitting in a chair. My back's against the sofa, let's say, sitting up straight. Generally, from what I understand, and stop me if this doesn't make a difference, people should close their eyes. I know when I've meditated, I've closed my eyes, and you start to breathe. Um, I've heard that it doesn't matter whether you breathe out through your nose and in through your mouth, you breathe out through your mouth, or in through your mouth as well. Would that be accurate? Does it matter?
To be honest with you, I don't know. I mean, I've heard guys in the gym, they want you to exercise in through the nose, out through the mouth. Some, I've heard some of them say
Yeah.
through the nose, then it's all through the mouth, both in and out of the. I don't know. What's comfortable for me is in the nose, out the mouth. But
In the nose, out
yeah,
the mouth.
but I don't know if there's any hard and fast rules. I was meditating. I was doing some breath work not too long ago with a fella who's trained in yoga, and he's only through the nose. So it depends on the. I don't know that it matters.
Okay. So I close my eyes, I breathe in through my nose, and I breathe out through my mouth. And I think you mentioned before that the initial breathing, the intake, is shorter than the exhale. Is that correct?
Relax. It's very relaxing. A nice long exhale.
And as you're doing that, Gershon, you are concentrating on your body, working your way down to the toes. What is going on in that concentration? What is going on in your mind? Explain how
I got
that works.
tension in my forehead. I'm blasting it out. I got tension in my neck. I'm pushing it out of my jaw, out of my eyes, out of my out of my shoulders, and I'm working my way down. And as I'm working my way down, getting more and more and more relaxed. I'm just trying to get the body as relaxed as possible.
So for the neophyte, again, their first time, they may fall asleep, they may not. They go through those first 2 or 3 steps that you mentioned, closing of the eyes, although that's not necessary, but most
No,
people
it's not.
do.
I would close the eyes.
Close the eyes. Okay. And then once they work through their body and the tension that they find within their forehead, within their shoulders, etc. Okay, what happens then?
Thought pops in your head. Don't engage it. Breathe it out. Just go back to the breath. Use the breath. The breath is like a banister. If you hold on to the banister, eventually you'll start descending. And you'll go deeper and you'll go deeper. And something will pop up. Don't engage. Just let it fly by. You know that it's there. You know what it is. You're not thinking about it. You're just going back to the breath. Eventually those thoughts will stop bubbling up and you'll find that state.
So Gershon, I'm thinking, oh damn, I got to go down and get my mail. I have to clean off my balcony because I want to build a garden this summer, and there's a whole plethora of things that are flowing through my head. Instead of concentrating on each one of those ideas, which is what we do during the course of the day, thousands of them, right? Instead, I'm concentrating on the breath. Is that correct?
Couldn't be clearer. Just concentrate on the breath.
Okay.
Now, there's other techniques. Some people that will count from 100 down to 0, visualizing the number in their head. And if the thought comes in, go back to the number and descend. I mean, there isn't a hard, fast rule to this. And some people are going to be able to do this easier than harder than others. Some people will prefer this technique over another. Some people will use music and get lost in the music and kind of get into that state. There is no hard and fast rules to do this. This is a suggestion. There are meditative techniques. You go on Spotify and you can find a whole bunch of meditation, guided meditations or whatever else that are using things that they're all different. They're all a little bit different. Well, focus on this, focus on that. Do they all work? Probably. Some of them are more beneficial, to this type versus that type. It's tough to tell. I think the last time we had this conversation, so I said, before you start the practice, have a little conversation. You don't have to be in a deep, deep state to do this. You say, I'm talking to my soul now. I want to I want to connect, and I would like you to help me by making available to me, whatever technique or whatever, book or whatever, whatever I'm going to need in order to do it. I want you to show it to me. I want you to bring it to me, and mean it. And if you're asking for it, it's listening. Your soul is listening, and you'll find the way that works best for you. Don't worry about that. Don't get too caught up on one particular technique. You put the intention that you want to be able to quiet your mind, learn how to quiet your mind. You want to be able to connect with your soul. You want to connect to the higher light. You want to become more spiritually aware. You want you want to make this progress. You start by setting the intention verbally or in your mind and asking for the way that's best for you in order to achieve it without getting stuck on one thing.
Okay, fair enough. So you alluded before to the idea that anybody can do this.
We're built to do this. Just like we're built to eat. We're built to go for a walk. We're built for all the bodily functions that we do. I mean, it's, being able to connect. To be able to quiet the mind. It's innate.
So with that, Gershon, I've spoken to people who will tell me, Avrum, I've tried meditating, and I've tried it again, and I've tried it again, and I can't get all those damn thoughts out of my head because my brain is working at a zillion miles an hour. So I stopped.
That was the problem. They don't want it. They don't want it enough.
Just stay in the game.
Isn't that the secret to success for every endeavor in life? You got to stay in the game. You want to lose weight, you got to stay in the game. You don't give up. You have a relapse, you get back on the horse. You keep going. Your business, the business fails. You want to be successful. You keep going and going until it works. You have to be persistent. Anything worth doing requires persistence. This is no different.
And discipline. So if somebody wants to create a regimen, let's say, as I do, what would you suggest is a good one to get started? You meditate every day for 5 minutes. You meditate every 3 days for 10 minutes. How would you go about it for a neophyte?
Sorry. What worked for me was doing my meditation the same time every day in the same place when I had my coffee, because I enjoy having a coffee in the morning, and I usually don't start my day. I wouldn't have my coffee just the first thing when I get up. I'd have it I'd been up for an hour and then I'd have my coffee. I have my coffee at the same time every day in a chair. And after I finished my coffee, that's when I would close my eyes and begin my practice. It becomes habit forming. But I seldom does a day go by when I didn't have a coffee, and seldom did a day that I had a coffee where I didn't meditate. You marry something that you enjoy doing, that you're going to do every day anyway, and on the back end of it, you throw in the meditation, and that's a pretty good, that's a good way to form a habit. And it should be in the same place. I find when I'm not in my normal place doing it, it will take me a little bit longer to get to lock in. And if I do it in a time that I don't typically do it, like if I do it at 9:30 in the morning, if I try to do it at 3:00 in the afternoon, I'm not going to have the same success. So my body just knows that at 9:30 in the morning, this is when it's going to be done. It doesn't have to be exactly 9:30, 10 o'clock, 10:30, but in that part of the day, it's easier. That physical location, it's easier. We have a concept of makom kavua in shul. Everyone, you sit in the same place again and again. It's because, your body, consciously, subconsciously, if it's used to a certain type of an environment, just things kind of flow. They flow better. So that's some advice that I would give.
Have you ever meditated with tefillin on?
Yes.
The answer was yes?
Yes.
How was it?
Interesting. It's not something that I do every day or even regularly. You mentioned it. I should probably do it more often. I daven, or I put my tefillin on in the morning, not exactly when I would have my meditative practice. It's usually before. But I can tell you that if you are going to put your consciousness in your crown chakra, and you're going to put your consciousness in your heart chakra, and you're wearing your tefillin, you're activating, the energy is a little bit more potent in those places when you're wearing the tefillin. And I'm not an expert in this, and I'm sure there people that have that as part of their practice, but I can only imagine it would be helpful.
Okay. So to be very succinct, because people often need a very succinct understanding of how to move forward, are you saying then that one should start by meditating every day, attaching it to something particular, like drinking your coffee in the morning, and for what period of time? For how long?
I would say that you should start by setting an intention that this is something that I want to do and speaking it out more than once, maybe three days in a row. Say, set the intention. Soul, I'd like to connect with you. I'd like to learn how to go inward. I'd like to be able to do it, and I'm going to establish a practice. Make up your mind and say it that you're going to do it, and ask for help on the best way to do it. And then start. You start by having an appointed time and getting rid of distractions, marrying it to something that you enjoy doing, so you know that you're going to show up. And for how long? Try it for, I don't know, 30 days. If you're doing it daily for 30 days, chances are it's going to stick. So you set your intention, then that's what you're going to do. You're going to try it for 30 days. And, if you really mean it and you really want to, and you can last the 30 days, it'll be habit forming.
Is there something special about meditating on Shabbat?
I don't know. I'm not sure. I mean, I have some good ones on Shabbat, but I have some good ones on Wednesday too. It's that's another thing. The weather is always different. Like I'm not that sensitive that I can tell what's a good meditative day, or like when the energy is high versus when the energy is low. But there's certain times when it's just really, really easy, and there's sometimes like pushing a peanut up the hill. It's not you. It's just like the energetics and what's going on is just, sometimes are just better appointed times than others to do it. And you never know, but you maintain the practice through good day. It's like, the sun doesn't shine every day. Sometimes it rains. Sometimes the energy is high and sometimes it's not, but you got to go to work every day. So it's, regardless if it's raining or not, you put in the effort.
If somebody wants to read up on meditation from a Jewish context, there's a book called Jewish Meditation, a Practical Guide, and that's by Aryeh Kaplan. He also wrote a book called Meditation and the Kabbalah. If you want to read about meditation and do it through non-Jewish classic writings, The Miracle of Mindfulness, an introduction to the practice of meditation, is available, and that's by Thich Nhat Hanh. The Zen Mind, Beginner's Mind by Shunryu Suzuki. So there's a lot of stuff out there. All one has to do is go on Amazon or on YouTube or on Spotify or whatever, and you'll find a plethora of information. Nowadays, meditation is very much in vogue, so there won't be a dearth of books available to you. Gershon, I want to thank you really a lot for this interview. It was great. I enjoyed it a lot, and I think it's going to help a lot of people. I've been referring to AI quite a bit over the last few months, which I've mentioned to you before. And I've asked AI to compose poems about my guest. So this is called Oy vey. I have a poem which is called Ode to Gershon Miskin, and it's by AI, and it goes like this. In the quiet of dawn where shadows soften, Gershon Miskin sits, his heart an offering. Breath weaves through him a silken thread, tying now to then, the living to the dead. Mindfulness, his anchor, holds him fast, each moment a jewel, no future, no past. The world's hum low, bird song, wind sigh, He listens, awake, as thoughts drift by. In stillness, he finds the pulse of the earth, a rhythm of peace, a soul's rebirth. Meditation, his compass, guides him deep, where secrets of spirit and silence sleep. Yet further he ventures beyond this plane to live long gone where echoes remain. Past life regression, a door swung wide. He walks through ages where his soul did reside. A scribe in the desert, a sailor at sea, a healer in forests, a bard's melody. Each life a whisper, a truth to unfold, stories of wisdom eternally told. Gershon the seeker with eyes soft and clear finds in each vision what the heart holds dear. The present, the past in harmony blend, a tapestry woven, no beginning and no end. Through mindfulness, he honors the now. Through regression, he traces the soul's ancient vow. In the dance of the breath, in the stillness profound, Gershon Miskin's truth is forever found.
The next time I come on the show and you do AI a poem, maybe you could conjure up some dirty limericks instead. But that was really good. I mean, that's. But everyone
is that your response?
But everyone loves a good dirty limerick. That was real.
Thank you,
Avrum. That was very touching. Thank you.
You're welcome.
And thank you, Grok.
Yeah, grok.com. Exactly.
Good
you know what? I've had bizarre responses to my AI poems, but never make it dirty next time. It's the first time.
Who doesn't like a dirty limerick? I don't know. Anyway,
my sisters.
Yeah, I know your sisters, and they probably probably don't.
They don't.
Do they watch
No,
the show?
Yeah.
Okay,
the show.
Okay, so forget it. No dirty limericks.
I wasn't going to. Gershon, in conclusion, is there a tip? Is there an idea? Is there a thought that you can share with us?
Is there a thought? Become less of the character that you're playing and more of the real you, and set the intention first and go inward, do the practice, and your life will shift. And you don't have to overthink it. It'll just happen. It's just that if you set the intention and that's what you want, and you just show up somewhat consistently, it just takes on a life of its own. There's a snowball's effect. Don't overthink it. Everyone has a tendency to overthink it. Just desire to be less of the fear-based character that you're playing and more of the ever-loving soul that you are, and do the modicum of work, and you'll get there. It might take a few years, but that's okay. There's lots of time. Souls are eternal. You got all the time you need in order to shark your way up the evolutionary path. So it's going to be good. And that's it. What else can I say?
All right. No, that's great. That's good advice. Ladies and gentlemen, I would suggest very strongly that you investigate meditation. I've dabbled in it, and I really want to dive into it more so because I see the value in it, and especially through my discussions with Gershon. So, we're all trying to do our very best here during a short time that we are here. And if we can brighten that time, if we can make it better, if we can be stronger, if we can touch, our soul more so and have a stronger relationship with God and do it through breath, through breathing, through meditation. And it sounds like a good plan. So I really look forward to doing this again in the future, Gershon. I'm sure we have a lot more to talk about, and I thank you so much for taking your time to do this. I thought it was magnificent. And if you guys have any questions, please feel free to call me. You'll find my YouTube page at the bottom here. You can get in touch with me through that if you have questions with Gershon. For Gershon, I'd be happy to share them. But until then, as they say in Yiddish, go in good health, and until we meet again, thank you so much.